Hey everybody, I'm Nathan. I do comic book reviews every week because that's supposed to be the rule around my house, that if I buy them then I have to review them. So this review is going to be for X23 number 14 by Marjorie Liu and surprisingly Phil Noto. So I bought this book purely on the cover. I'm kind of sick of all of the event books that Marvel continues to put out, and I heard that this is one of the few books that's really character driven, like a lot of the older stories in the past, before 5 years ago. So I wanted to check it out and see if it's really as good as the Daredevil and Captain America and other series that are character driven as well and kind of ignore the rest of what's going on. And I'm so glad that I did. This is a pretty cover, obviously, and so I will give credit to Mr. or Mrs. I think Kalman Andrasovsky as the cover art. Anyway, it got me to buy this, along with, wanting to try it anyway at some point. And I was so happy to find out that Phil Noto was doing the art on the inside. Now, if you haven't been following Phil Noto's blog or Tumblr or whatever, or him on Twitter, then you really should, because he's making these really beautiful art pieces, like almost the ones that I like the best are like little candid shots of 60s and 50s Fantastic Four and the Avengers kind of sitting around waiting to do things or vacationing together. It's almost like people are taking snapshots, and they're really incredible. They look really good, and the guy really captures these people's expressions really, really well, and you get a whole lot of amazing other artwork in there too. So it took me a long time. I'm a big fan of his artwork, and I didn't really realize he was drawing anything. But it took me a really long time to get used to this style, because I'm so used to seeing it as artwork that it really was difficult for me to see the movement in here and the action that's going on here as well, instead of just people standing there and making faces or posing for pictures. That one's really good too. That's the kind of classic art that he does there, where it's a shot with something obscuring the view, but you get the total emotion going on there at the same time, and there's no words. There's a lot of times in this that I almost wanted no words to be there so that I could just try to feel what the story was behind there. I know that sounds weird, but it has to do with the art specifically. But the story here is interesting too. I mean, this particular issue is the second of a story arc that's bringing X23 alongside Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four all together. And in the end, they're brought together by remnants of the Unipower or something like that, because they all had the Unipower for these one-shots that happened, I think, last year or 2 years ago or something, that really didn't seem like they were in continuity, but apparently were, and they're working into the stories. That's really awesome too. That's really incredible writing on Marjorie's part, especially taking on something like that that's so abstract and so not really connected between all these characters, and making it a real connection, aside from them just having this power. So there were those two things, and the art just blew me away. I totally am thrilled that I picked this up, and I hope that I haven't been missing more of Phil Noto's art. Here's the last scene, and it is incredible. He tends to do this type of thing here, where there's something kind of partially obstructing the view, like I said before, that makes it look like a photo, and it makes it look like you're standing there. And it really has such a deep effect on this whole thing that it, along with all of the incredible coloring, it just makes this a great book altogether. The story's good. This is kind of a middle part of the story, so you get a little bit of pushing the story forward, and then you get a surprise at the end, so that's great, that I basically just showed you. So it's good for kind of middle part of the story arc. At the same time, you get amazing art. So based on those two things, I'm definitely giving this a 4 out of 5. I'd probably give a 5 out of 5 if it was more of kind of a complete story from start to finish. I feel like I'm only getting a snapshot in time of what's really happening here, although you do get, a big kind of surprise, and you get some nice moments between Valeria and X23, who are both young women at the same time. That's pretty cool too. But it's not kind of, there's no small story kind of happening within this. It's all bits and pieces of the whole arc. So I'm definitely going to go back and buy the other issues associated with this arc and follow it from here, at least for this arc, to see if this entire series is definitely worth picking up. I think I'm going to be pleasantly surprised, despite the heavy use of, you know, people like Gambit and Cecilia Reyes, which I don't particularly care for. But there you go. It's a very high 4 out of 5. I'd almost give it a 5 out of 5. I really enjoyed reading it. The art is so incredible. I'll probably look through it again within the next week. So follow Phil Noto. Find his site. I forget what it is. It's probably philnoto.tumblr.com or something like that. But it's definitely worth checking into and getting RSS feeds from. So there you go. If you enjoyed this review, keep an eye out for more reviews coming out tonight and tomorrow, and hopefully I'll be able to get through the enormous backlog of issues that I have to cover, since I haven't been covering them for a while. So thanks for hanging in there, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.